Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the August 30th post chat.
Yeah.
Love your topic today, talking about sin and shalom and how they get in each other's way, you could say.
Yeah.
And I think shalom, just this idea of fulfillment and completeness and wholeness, a lacking nothing, is just a really interesting concept, because I think we can agree that most of us, and as well as people around us, we can see the need and the desire for fulfillment. They're looking for fulfillment.
Yeah.
They're looking everywhere and in everything for a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah. And I would say, we live in a culture now that a lot of us can exhaust that level of energy similar to what Solomon could do. And the temptation's very high.
Yeah.
And even the expectation of those things being fulfilling culturally are very high.
Yeah.
And so, it's something that we do need to be on guard about. And the Bible's very clear about just guarding your heart and rooting yourself in community to hold you to accountable.
Yeah.
There's a sense of, even Solomon says, God's going to judge what's done in secret and in the light. You know what I mean? So even that holds you accountable. Of I've really got to be careful. I can't be frivolous with this. But ultimately, there are things that we go, and there's no denial that sin offers an opportunity for fun. It's fun to do some of these things. Are they healthy? Are they good? Do they actually bring about shalom? Probably not.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good time to break down that. I feel like there's two threats to our experience of shalom.
Yeah.
Right. One are things we might call evil, right? Or sins, right? Lust, greed, your 7 deadly sins or whatever. You know
Deceitfulness.
Sure.
Stealing, murder.
Yeah. We know that these things are bad. And these are ways that people look for fulfillment in their life, trying to fill the void, right? Addictions in general, right? Whatever. People are trying to fill that void, and we know that that's wrong, and they need to look to find that in God.
Yeah.
However, I think a really common one that a lot of Christians who already know the truth, know the gospel, still deal with is the good things that can still, we can strive to find our shalom in them, that they're not a source of shalom.
Yeah.
And examples of that would be like, finances. Money is not evil. It's the love of money and evil. When you make it your love, when you make it your hope for yourself, your hope for your security in all things.
Yeah.
You're looking to find your status in that. You're looking for shalom in something that cannot give you shalom.
Yeah.
Sex. Whatever. Even like hobbies. I don't know about you guys, but when you put all of your hope in your sports team, or your fantasy football team, in my case, or whatever it is, and it's fun. Yeah. It's just fun. You're rooting for whatever, but then when they lose, or your football team loses, and you're just crushed, and your outlook on life is just gone, and then you kind of have to remind yourself wait, this doesn't matter. This is just fun. This is not my source of wholeness. This is not what makes me whole. Christ makes me whole.
I think you said the word status, finding your status, and we could probably expand it and say finding your identity.
Yeah.
Even, this sounds really weird, but even in the sense of doing good and sinning. Your whole identity maybe is serving at church, but it becomes something else. We could probably go that far where it has maybe even replaced finding our confidence in God versus serving at church, which means this is how it usually unfolds. Well, they didn't tell me thank you for that. Oh, how dare they? Yeah, and then it kind of
or they're removed from their position for whatever reason, even good position, we want to let someone else take a turn serving in that role, and the person who has that volunteer role is just no, I'm the one who does this. And you're wait, you started this to serve, and yet now it's become your sense of fulfillment. I'm the one who does this. I'm the guy. And then you can't let it go.
So there are lots of avenues for this to go haywire.
Yeah.
But yes, they're good things. Volunteering and serving is an amazing thing for you and for others, and ultimately glorifying God. Problem is even in that, this very church example, the priority, the fulfillment, it becomes or attaches to our identity. Then we think that fulfills us. Walk that out in every scenario in life of good things.
Yeah, you know, it's a way you can kind of do this, to reprioritize yourself on what really matters, what really makes you whole. A little existential exercise. Sorry, going there. Just remove things from your life. Not actually, but in your head. Just think about this. Okay, who am I, Chad, if I was no longer a pastor? If I was no longer working at Sound House Church? If I no longer had my truck that I drive? You know, like, keep removing things and say, am I still me? You know, am I still okay? You know, and you're gonna find out all these things that, like, would I be fine if I didn't play fantasy football this year? Yes, I would still very much be Chad.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I think you can do it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you remove things, because I think we hold on to our little pieces of identity so strong that we end up fooling ourselves saying, like, this matters so much. And then you just see it's like, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah. You're still sustained. You know, like, this is not, you know, everything about who you are.
Yeah.
And God will still bring you shalom.
Yeah.
Even without these things. And maybe these things have kind of become too big to yourself that you can't hear God's shalom anymore.
They do. And, you know, you use the example, and this is probably most relatable for Chad and I, or anybody who's been even in ministry. The danger of every pastor is to feel like your identity is pastor. You know, it's a privilege that it's been given, and it can go away. Yeah. And you know, maybe this is weird to say. You know, I say this, like, I think it's always important to lead like you're leaving it, and never think that I am always going to be in the position that I'm in. And it's, for some people, they probably get nervous about that, but for me, it keeps me in the place of, like, keeping that at bay. And then it's a temptation too, so I'm aware of it, is that this is my identity. This is who I am. But actually, no, it's not. I'm so many other things, but I have this privilege to, as long as I have it, to do the very best I can with it and steward it.
I think that's a temptation for any career, especially if it's one that you're proud of or you worked for. You know what I mean? You went to school for, or whatever. You built the company or whatever, and you're really proud of that becomes your identity. Ryan, I think you gave the best illustration to ground us in stuff like this in your sermon when you talked about, do you know your great grandparent, whatever, you know? I don't know if this sounds terrible, but I don't know my great grandparents' names.
I don't either.
No, I never met them that I know of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That you know of.
I know my oldest brother had met them. I don't know if maybe I was an infant at the time, you know, whatever. Like, I don't have any pictures of me with them. Yeah. But man, that is sobering. That's humbling. Yeah. And that just reminds you to, like, reprioritize, because this is someone who I would think I actually would care about. Yeah. And you know, it's his family, and yet, wow, we are more finite and temporal than we want to think.
It's sobering to think too, because, like, my son Bo, who's doing the audio, his sons or daughter might not know. You know what I mean? A few generations away, I might not even be on.
Know your name.
Know my name.
Well, not you, Ryan. Everyone will know your name.
That's true. Now with the internet,
the big book
we can live
out.
forever, Chad.
Yeah.
But no, it is very sobering. It is.
No, and that's just stuff like that is very helpful, because then that makes me think, like, well, what does matter? You know what I mean? Like, and if you're chasing success, if you're chasing your identity in success, your sense of wholeness and completeness, shalom, in your success or in what you've built, remember that all that is vapor. It's gone.
Won't be remembered for a few generations.
Yeah, absolutely. What is important is that you are grounded in the true sense of shalom, your wholeness, which is God.
Yeah. Yeah, and our purpose isn't just to go, well, then what's life about? No, the purpose is to what Solomon said, like, follow God's laws and do it to the very best of your ability, and just know that, like, you know, that's greater than anything else that we could put our identity or our hope in. You know, I heard someone say this, I thought it was interesting, is that the great elders of a community or of a family know that they're going to plant seeds that they'll never see the growth of the tree. But they're doing it they'll plant trees that will shade generations from now that they'll never have experienced the shade. I think that's so powerful to think that, like, that grounds us to go then, like, I can't just live completely for myself. Yeah. I can't just live for my own fulfillment. I've got to live that maybe my name won't be remembered, but the values will be passed on. The shade people will sit under will be because of the foundations I laid now. And that is a biblical principle especially when I don't put my identity in those things. Absolutely.
And I tell you, the one thing that we are all a part of, which is so much bigger than us all, is the kingdom of God. You see what you just talked about in every single prophet. Every biblical prophet preached repentance and come back to the covenant, preached that if they don't, there would be judgment, but then also preached that one day God would redeem and restore. Yeah. So many of the prophets preached the Babylonian exile and the destruction of Jerusalem. Most of them witnessed the destruction of Jerusalem. Yeah. None of them were still alive when God brought the people back to re-inhabit. And so they had this difficult task and never got to see it come to fruition, you know? Yeah. And that's just a reminder, is that, like, what the people you pour your life into, you know, are their kids and their kids' kids saved and have a relationship with Christ because of the time and the work you put in with this person. Yeah. So, yeah. It's an interesting just conversation on priorities. It is. And I think for many people, we always need this reminder / warning. And Ecclesiastes is a fantastic book to come over. I mean, even researching this message, I read the entire book again. I was like, such a sobering reminder. Was it starts with like that passage in James, right? It starts with a dipping the toe in the water. Oh, that's not so bad. And okay, I feel good. I'm going to go to the reward system is like right away reward system, but then it betrays us every time. Yeah. And he's saying, let me just remind you again that at the end of the day, it's about glorifying God. Yeah. And that's where you find your true fulfillment. And then we have the fullness of life. Yeah. Well, man, that got deep. I like it. We did. I love the philosophical deep end of the pool there. Wow. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you got some out of this, and that you are having a refreshment of priorities that we are experiencing as well. As just remember what's important and what makes you you, and what brings you a sense of shalom, complete wholeness. Yeah. Thanks so much. At the end of this video, you can click through to the Adult Ed, where we go into more detail on understanding the biblical interpretation of shalom. And if not, we'll see you next week, maybe at the park or online. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.